y'all, I'm Hope here at Crafty Hope, and welcome. I am about to work on day 89 of the 100-day project and my Not Precious project. I know that you're probably watching this well after that I have completed this, but go ahead and tell me what it is I'm gonna do here. How's it gonna work out? Because I'm a little bit floundering today. We're in the home stretch here of this 100-day project. And my project has been to take items from my stash that I have been putting off using because they've been too precious for one reason or another, that I have held them too dear, and just going ahead and using them because otherwise they're just taking up space and they're not fulfilling their purpose in the world. So, at the start of the project and about midway through it, I gathered items from my vast collection to give myself a smaller curated selection, and today from that smaller curated selection I pulled this out. It is like a receipt book. It is just an old receipt book. It still says 19 something on it, and you can see over here this has 16. So, and there's not many of them in here that have the dates, like 1922. So these are all over 100 years old, these little pages here. And this $25 one, it says part of work, work on something, house work. So the $25 one is the priciest one. The rest of these are like $5, $10, $4 receipts. Anyway, and so it's these little pieces that I have found to be too precious to use, and I am going to break them out and go ahead and use them. In addition, I've got one of my jars of feathers that I have found, and a box. And we're gonna see if we can turn this into something. I think I might try painting this box. It is just a little like fake drawer thing from the Dollar Tree, and yeah, I'm gonna do something with it, I think. So I think I'm gonna try painting it first. I am seeing gold on it. I might tape it off a little because I don't want this outside edge getting colored, but I do want this front edge and this inside portion. So yeah, I'm gonna start there, and then we will work our way to the rest of this. I did start by taping this one off, just using some masking tape to go around the outside edge, making sure that the edge of the masking tape lines up with that edge of the box. Now I'm going to admit to you, this project got a bit fiddly. I have cut out some of the fiddly bits, but I'll tell you when they get there. I also had an issue with one of the files for this got corrupt somehow. And so there's a little bit of a section of me decorating the front of the box, but I hope to be able to explain to you what I did when we get to that section, when you can see it there in front of you. So, yeah, so I'm starting this here, as you can see, taping this off. And then the next thing I'm going to do when I finally get this taped off, and you can see I'm only working with I'm not pulling really long lengths of tape at a time to work with it because that's just too much. I'm doing little sections. It's the same way I would tape off if I was painting a room. So, and then I burnished over all of it, just rubbed it down, make sure it was secure, and went and grabbed a paintbrush. Now I'm starting with that front edge. The big thing I don't like, y'all, with these Dollar Tree boxes is this front edge is often, I don't know, kind of ugly and exposed. And so I've been experimenting with different ways to alter it. And this is just one of the ways I'm doing it. First off, I am painting it. This part of painting it takes forever. And I don't know if that just, I'm not getting enough paint on my brush, but also it's that edge of that, I think it's MDF. And it's absolutely soaking up this paint. So I'm going to go all around this outside edge, and I'm not being super particular about if it gets on the inside of the box because I am going to, paint all around the inside of this frame. I am going to skip ahead on this because, well, you really can't see what I'm doing at the angle I'm working here. So, yeah. I'm gonna work all the way around this until I get a nice even coat. And I'm going to go ahead and let you know I am going to end up putting 2 coats on this, but I've clipped that out because it's really just painting. Now, I knew I was probably going to collage on that back panel, so I'm not being super particular. I mean, I'm avoiding it for the most part as I paint it, but if a little bit of that gold paint got on there, I am not super pleased. Now, the gold paint I'm using is the Modern Masters Olympic gold paint. I love this gold. And it's something I just happened upon. I think I bought it on clearance somewhere and was like, oh, this is nice. Let me try this out. Now I've loved it ever since. So I start flipping through my feathers, and I'm going to land on this one and that first goldish one that I pulled out. And so I'm going to let you see like some of the collection of feathers that I have here. I do pull out my second jar of them and go through them as well, but I really do just end up narrowing it down to 2 that I've already pulled out at this point. So really I'm looking for something that's going to fit inside that box, have a statement. So the big thing is to not look at that one. It got wet. And so it just, yeah. Anyways, I'm going through my little collection of feathers. Y'all, these are feathers I find when I'm on walks. Sometimes they're out in the yard. Pretty much anywhere. I've always got my head trained down looking for feathers. So, and I stick them in a jar or 2 and pull them out when I need. And y'all, I hate to say some of these are probably all from the same bird, because sometimes I find little piles of poofs of feathers where probably an owl got another bird. So I like this feather. I'm checking against the color of that paper, and that feather and that feather. So I'm going to put those 3 aside. I am going to, like I said, go through the other jar and paint a second coat on that box, and then we'll come back here in just a second. And you'll see, yep, here's me finishing up that second coat of the box, and then I'm going to dry it. So we're about to get to the part where my video kind of freaks out. And what I end up doing is putting dots around that outside edge. And right now you can see I'm studying this box, thinking on it, how I want to proceed, what I want to proceed, because I want to make sure anything that involves paint, I'm going to go ahead and do before I add those not precious papers and before I add the feather. So I am making sure this is all dry. It's not. I'm evening things out. Yep. Getting it just how I want. Oh, I'm seeing there. I've got a little bit of paint on the outside of the box. I think I sanded that down. Oh no, I still have the tape on there, y'all. I completely forgot about the paint. I mean the tape. Oh my gosh. What is wrong with me? Okay, so we're going to skip ahead here. And like I said, this is where the camera kind of blipped out on me. And I decided to make dots around the outside. So what I started was a layer of black dots around the outside, which I made using the eraser side of just a basic pencil. And I dipped the eraser into my black cheap acrylic paint and then just made dots around the outside. Then I went on the inside of those dots with that Sharpie paint pen there, you can see, and just made little gold dots inside those black ones, and then I used that white Posca paint pen to make dots inside of that. So that's all that was just layers of dots. You can also see on the inside of the box, I've got some stripes, and I used that black Posca paint pen to just go on the inside, and I think I actually did the stripes before I did anything else, working kind of inside to the outside. And those stripes are wonky and crazy and weird, but I'm okay with it. This is all done by my hand, and it's okay if everything's a little uneven and wonky. That's how it's. I mean, these feathers aren't perfect. They aren't precise. The papers here have handwriting on it. None of that is perfect and precise. That is the artist's hand. So you can see I peeled off that tape from the outside, leaving a nice clean edge. The whole purpose of that. And then I have pulled out, it looks like 4 or 5 of these papers, and I'm kind of playing with them because they are kind of an odd shape and size. I'm moving them around and trying to figure out kind of how I want to lay them out before I go in and do that. And you're not going to see it here, you might see in a second, my camera will skip. I pulled out my phone to kind of take a picture of it to give me another like look at it to see how that looks to me. So, and you can see I'm studying this for a while, deciding if that feather is really what I want. I pretty much decided on that gray and white feather. But you'll see what happens if you saw the intro. If you saw my Instagram post, you know that's not what happens. So I am going to just take some, I got some clean water, and I'm going to use fluid matte medium and put that inside the box to lay down these papers, just collage it the way I normally would. Like I said, I'm just kind of overlapping these pieces to cover up the back side of that box. I might even, I'm trying to remember if I left a little hole in the middle for gluing, how I'm going to glue it in there, but I don't know that I knew quite yet how I was going to glue that in there. So I guess we'll see together. I edited this and didn't even think of that. I did mention at the beginning of this that I had shown a picture, well, one of my days I had added a jump ring using UV resin to a dragonfly wing. That was day 84 of my 100-day project. I'm going to put a link below in the description box for that. Also, I'm going to let you know that this box is available for purchase at Hello Gallery in downtown Fairhope. So if it's something at the end of this that you think, oh my gosh, I can't live without that, yeah, you can contact them to purchase it. I don't even remember how much I've got it listed for, but if you really need to know, you can ask me and I'll go look it up. So I am, as you can see, just kind of putting it edge to edge. So whatever a straight edge is, I'm putting that up against the side of the box and using my matte gel. I'm also running the matte gel over those stripes that I made so that it kind of seals that in as well. So, and it gives everything kind of like a nice even coating so that, I don't know, so if that matte gel is too matte and that gold was too shiny, it's all the same kind of matteness. And I think I've just got that one more piece. So I'm only putting 4 here, which does mean I'm probably going to have a little bit of a hole down there at the bottom of this. Down back there at the bottom, in the middle of this. Yeah, when I put that in there, that probably leaves the tiniest little opening to the wood back there. Okay, once I get this done, I do step away and let myself sleep on what my next steps are going to be. So we're going to go ahead in just a second to day 89? No, 90. Oh my gosh. Yes, day 90 of this project. So it's day 90 and I let myself sleep on whether I wanted to add the, I keep wanting to say butterfly, the feather, and I keep going back and forth, but I'm trying not to overcomplicate things because that is my mojo. I do know that if I put it in here, I want to lift it a little bit so it has some depth, but it being so small, I think what I want to try to do is something that hit me the other day, and that is using UV resin onto something like this, because I had used some to attach a jump ring to a dragonfly wing, and so I'm wondering if I can make some kind of small drop here and connect it on the back and then glue that portion in. I mean, and I could use glue just as easy, but because the UV resin does cure fairly quickly, I think I'm going to try that. So I have some wire here. This is kind of a sturdy wire, and it's just cheap wire. I think it's from the Dollar Tree. So that's what I think I'm going to work with, just not to overcomplicate things. I am going to snip off a fairly, I don't know, what is that, 4 or 5 inches? I don't know, y'all. 5 or 6, I don't know. And I'm going to use a round nose plier. If you don't have round nose pliers, if you just have a chain nose plier, you could just as easily make a little bend. I am going to make a loop like so, and then right under my loop I'm going to bend straight up so that I have, oh, can you see that, like a little thing. I'm gonna grab my chain nose pliers and kind of just straighten that out a little bit. So you could have just as easily made that little loop with your chain nose. And what I'm going to do is try to, and that may be too much, I may have bent it back too much. Okay, that's not going to fit under there, but we'll see what we can do. Okay, do I have, let me grab a cheap paintbrush. One of these plasticky paintbrushes works great because if you use a regular paintbrush, it's just going to get ruined with UV resin. So I am going to put a dollop of it on here. I could have just as easily put it, oh jeez, y'all, see, look at me. All the things I could do, I'm going to ruin this. All right, I'm going to try to hair. I guess we'll see what that does. All right, guys, I'm gonna voice over the rest of this and see what happens rather than try to talk our way through it. You may have guessed this is where some of that fiddliness comes in. So I do start with that gray and white feather. I scooped up some of the UV resin onto that loop I made and stick it on my feather, and I'm going, oh y'all, I have a third hand thing that's like some locking tweezers and all of that I try to get under the UV lamp and cure this, and it goes, oh, it was a lot of fiddliness. So, and it ends up not going to matter because I'm not going to use that feather. That drop that I dropped onto that feather ends up putting a mark basically on the front of the feather, and I don't like it. So I'll end up going to one of the other feathers I had picked out, that black and kind of gold colored one is what I'll end up using because it actually matches that better. So I'm messing with that. You can see I'm like, oh my gosh, I got too much resin on this. Everything's wonky. I'm not digging it. So I end up just pulling off. Yep, that UV resin didn't cure. Pulled my wire off. Looking at that feather, I was really disappointed at the time. But really, that black and gold colored one works so much better with the gold, with the black, with the color of the, I think I really wanted that black and white one, or the gray and white one, which I think is a mockingbird feather. I end up going with that anyway. I really think I wanted that one to make a statement. So I bent my wire over, leaving the same loop that was there, and I'm going to add a little bit of that UV resin to the loop that I already had, and you see, I'm sticking my hand in there, and I'm turning that loop around so it doesn't drip off, so that I can cure a solid basis for that wire. That loop was fine. I needed something a little more solid. So adding the resin, curing it, and having that resin base works a lot better. Then I add a little more resin to that base, stuck it on my feather, and I'm sticking it under the light. And this time I am putting my hand in there. I was trying to keep from having my hand in there. But yeah. So I finally got that to cure. Like I said, it was a little tricky and all of that, but it's solid now. It is not wobbling. It wasn't half the mess that the other one was. I did cut my wire at some point in there so that it would fit under the UV lamp a little bit better. And now I am going to make another loop using those round nose pliers at that other end. Then I'll take some chain nose pliers, and y'all, I'm going to make a spiral. So I am taking that loop and just turning it along the wire. So little by little, inching it up. I zoomed in here so y'all could see that a little bit better. And yeah, I'm going to end up turning that at a 90-degree angle in just a second here, I think, like that. Yep. And I'm going to test it inside my box to see what the height looks like inside the box if I secured that. And I decided, nope, that's too high. So I bent that flat again, and I'm going to roll it some more. Now, I don't know if you can tell, I'm trying to keep my fingers off of the feathers because I don't want to damage it. So I was kind of working as carefully as I could, trying not to damage the feather. And I rolled it some more, and then I will turn it again at a 90-degree angle, try to get it flat. And again, this is going to be super futzy because I'm like, okay, is it flat enough? Do I need to flatten it out? Yep, see, there's me trying to use my hands, trying not to touch that feather. And it works, yeah, so much better because I wanted it just simply lightly lifted at the back of the box. I didn't want it poking out from the box or too close to the front where somebody's going to want to put their hands all over it. I want it pushed to the back of the box. And instead of trying to futz with the UV resin, which I knew would be the lamp would be hard pressed to kind of get over and inside that box, I just used E6000 to adhere that spiral I created to the box. And again, remember, I left a little bit of a hole back there, so this is adhering to the actual box and not just to the paper. So I'm going to futz with this for a little bit, and leave it to cure. And while it cures, I take a slip of paper to my typewriter and I type up the words "find your wings" there, and it's going to slip into that little, whatever you want to call that, labely thing there. But I don't want it to be able to be removed. Because I did take this up to the gallery. I don't want somebody to be able to just slip that out or for it to fall out. So I'm going to take some more of my fluid matte medium and a wet paintbrush and put that as best I can inside that, in there. And I could have taken that little thing off, gotten my little screwdriver and taken it off, which I've done before for other things. But that just seemed like a whole lot of hassle. Actually, I was ready to be done futzing with things. So I'm going to slip it in and then put a little bit more of that fluid medium on top. I could have also added resin here or some other kind of sealant to make sure it's in there a little bit better, but really, I didn't want, this is something that's kind of an afterthought that somebody might notice as it's hanging. So, and that's it for this. I did add a hanger to the back of that, and it hangs nicely. But here's some closer looks at it. If you have any questions about this project, I know I kind of rushed through it and cut some things out and it was hard to see. So if you have questions, definitely let me know. I would be more than happy to help. I appreciate that you came by and took the time to watch this. Come back later and see what else I've got going on. Thanks for watching, y'all. Bye.